Hey y'all, it's Nancy the Handy Scandy. Welcome back for another crafty venture. And I recently bought the Ghostly Greetings background from Whimsy Stamps, and I knew immediately that I wanted to play with pigment powders. So I pulled out my Lindy's Magicals. Here I'm cutting down some watercolor card. This is my, I believe it was the Arteza. I think it's called Artist. I don't know. Anyway, any watercolor paper will work. Whatever you have will work. So I pull out the stamp and of course my Misty, because I want to make sure that I get a really good impression. And in order to heat emboss, you need to make sure that you have the whole thing stamped out, and I'm using my Versamark ink and just giving it multiple stampings before I pull it out of the Misty, because I want to make sure that I don't miss any of this beautiful background. Beautiful might be a weird word to describe it for some of you, but I think it's absolutely gorgeous and I'm very excited to play with it. So here I am using just some clear embossing powder, and then I'm also going to be using some white, and I just did the same process, put the paper in the Misty, stamped it out as many times as I needed to make sure that I got really good coverage with that ink. Now putting on the white heat embossing powder, and then I pull out my embossing gun and I just hit it. Now this is a slow process. These are lots and lots of images on this background stamp, so just be patient. Just make sure that you heat it all until it's melted and shiny. If it has any matte look to it at all or darker look to the rest of it, go back and hit it once more. And I did that with both the white and the clear. And then of course I'm coming back in with gold, and then I do black as well. I wanted lots of options because it's all going to look different depending on the outline, depending on the colors of pigment that I use. Yeah. So again, stamped, poured on the powder, hit it with the heat tool, and these are my 4 backgrounds. So I'm going with the clear one first. And I have, I think, 5 different containers of Lindy's. They all are kind of fall mixes. I don't know what to call them. Collections. I don't know. But anyway, I wanted this card to be blues and teals and purples. And so I just pulled from each of the packs. I had them all open and laying on the desk. And I just pulled the colors that I wanted. So I didn't worry about which collection it came from per se. And I started out very controlled. I end up not being so controlled as I go. But I'm just sprinkling on the powders, and then I use my sprayer. Water is probably my most used tool on this process, because of course you need the water to activate the pigment powders, but also a little bit goes a long way. I do not show restraint in this process at all, y'all. I really don't. Just let me encourage you, don't be afraid to sop up pools. I know it feels like you're wasting, but you're really not, because there's still plenty of pigment down there, plenty of water. Now on this particular one, I felt like the teal was overtaking and I wanted some more of that purpley blue. So after I sopped up some of those pools, I added some more of that purpley blue pigment powder, and then I just used the water to move it around. And that's something to think about, right? If it's not settling the way you want, you can use a paintbrush to give it a little bit of nudge. You can pick it up and move it. You can use your heat tool. Lots of different things you can do to kind of nudge your pigments where you want them to go. So obviously on this one, I wanted to go with a green color palette. And so I pulled several greens from my different collections, and I'm poking it with, it's basically just a tack that I have sitting on my desk, but I wanted to make like little shakers out of them. Some of them were already poked like that, but I just went back, and the ones that weren't, I went ahead and poked them. Some of them are lifted at the edge, and so I'm making sure that I hold that down as I tap out through the holes, the shaker holes. And it looks like I'm adding a lot. And I'm adding more water than I am pigment, because it comes out very finely through those little holes. But I love the way the colors separate, and then the way that they bloom and blossom out is so pretty, and it's so much fun. Now on this gold one, I wanted to stick with like golden yellows and oranges and reds. So those are the colors that I've pulled. And same process. Making shakers out of each of the containers, Tapping on the pigment powder, some in more controlled places, some just letting it fall where it will go, just shaking it over the top, and then adding the water and just letting everything bloom and blossom and come alive. Look at that color. It's just amazing. And again, water makes it all come alive. So that is my fourth panel. No, that was my third panel. I'm sorry. This is my fourth panel. So very pretty. Now this is the browns. I believe I pull a red into this one as well. We'll see here. Yep, there's the red. I thought I did. And this is the one that's heat embossed in black ink, or black powder, of course. You can see that, but then I added some more of one of the golds on here. The golds are absolutely stunning. And look at that. Look at it just. And that red, I did not use much of the red at all, but it just really, it took control. Not in a bad way, but just in a very strong way. So these are them. They are still wet, but we have the clear and the teal, the white with the green, all of the golds with the gold, and the reds with the black. And they look so, so good. And then I just pulled out a bunch of different background dyes. I just wanted to get started. Like, I didn't have a plan at all. I really didn't have a plan. So this is the postage dye from Whimsy. And they all just look, I don't know, they continue to build their character, if you will, as you cut them out with the different background dyes. Now this is the Sprinkle Scallop Rectangle dye, and it's a little more controlled. I love it. This is the Wonky Stitched Rectangle dye. And again, a more controlled cut on the edges. And this, I believe, is called Treasure Map. And I just look at the faces of the little ghosties. They look so scary, like they're moaning and they're forlorn. I mean, this artistry is wild. Look at them. It's just wild. Anyway, so those are my 4 background dyes that I used. And then I pulled out the same card base. They're all on just a cream. I believe this particular cardstock is from Recollections, if I'm not mistaken. It is 110 pound. And look, they all are on equal playing grounds, right? And then I just pulled out some different things. Some stuff I had on my desk. The Let's Get Spooky is from the same stamp set as the background, and then the bat was from my stash, just sitting on my desk. It's Boo Time, I believe, is from the same stamp set. It may not be, but I'm not really sure. But the label dies and then the ghosty die also from my stash. And here I'm just letting the backgrounds do all the talking, right? Nothing special, same kind of concept there. This one I wanted to do something a little bit different. I have different papers in the background, and then I have the hole cut out so we see a scene on the inside. That paper is from the Haunted House's 6x6 paper pack, and I'm so proud of myself for actually using the papers and not just hoarding them. And then the stamp and the sentiment are from the, I can't remember the name of the stamp set, but it was the Stamp Timber Collaborative. And then this one, I went even one further, and I used a lot of different embossing techniques here. I've got the stamp around, the bramble wreath stamp around the cutout, and then lots of black embossing powder around the edges just to grunge it up quite a bit there. And I am just so happy with these. Guys, let me know what you think. I love the Lindys. I try to be controlled, but in the end, I just let the grungy and the messy take over. Was it too grungy and messy for y'all? Let me know what you think. But these are my 4 cards with my magicals and with the ghostly greetings backgrounds, and I think they turned out great. But again, I want to hear from you guys. Until next time, I thank you for spending time with me. As always, drop me a comment downstairs and I'll see you down there. Mwah. And until then, I'm out.